Well, welcome today to this edition of The Golden Rule. As those of you who are regular listeners are obviously observing, I've got a different set today. I've moved to another place in the house, and that's because I want to do a little singing along with my sharing, because it's very important to me. You know, what I'm going to do is give my testimony, and every Christian, I know I'm talking to Christians and non-Christians alike today, so obviously if you're not a Christian, you don't have a Christian testimony. But for a Christian, a testimony is simply a recounting of what God has done for a person in his or her life. And so I'm going to share my testimony today, and it's basically explaining what God has done for you. You know, I could spend countless hours and hours telling about all the wonderful, exciting, incredible things that God has done for me, and much of it because I am a musician. I do music and I like music, and so I think in music terms, and I even remind myself in music terms, because music is a good vessel for bringing things back to your mind. And so I've got two songs that I want to share particularly. The first of it is a song called Something Beautiful. And you know, before I became a Christian, I was a mess, as is everyone who doesn't know the Lord. You're a mess in one way or another. You may not think you're a mess. I didn't think I was a mess. I didn't know I was a mess. Other people knew I was a mess. They told me after I got saved, boy, you were a mess. Well, I didn't know I was a mess. I thought I was just a plain old person with problems. Well, yeah, I had problems, all right. But anyway, Jesus got a hold of my life on April 19th, 1973. And everything changed at that point. And this song has become my testimony about that. And here's how it goes. Something beautiful, something good. All of my confusion, he understood. All I had to offer him was brokenness and strife, but he made something beautiful of my life. If there ever were dreams that were lofty and noble, they were my dreams at the start, and the hopes for life's best were the hopes that I harbored down deep in my heart. But my dreams turned to ashes, my castles all crumble, my fortune turned to loss. So I wrapped it all in the rags of my life and laid it at the cross. Something beautiful, something good. All my confusion, he understood. All I had to offer him was brokenness and strife, but he made something beautiful of my life. Yes, he made something beautiful of my life. Amen. He did, you know, and every time I get, it doesn't happen a whole lot anymore, but if I get down about something, I just sing that song. And it just reminds me of what I used to be. I've got a whole bunch of other songs that are popping into my head, even as I'm speaking, and I could just go off into that world, but I'm not going to. I only have a limited amount of time here on Channel 3 today. So I'm going to go on with another portion of my testimony. I became a Christian on April 19th, 1973. At 9:30 in the morning, I received a notice that my wife was divorcing me. At 9:30 that night, I met Jesus just as radically as the Apostle Paul met him on the road to Damascus. If you know anything about the Bible, it's in Acts chapter 9. If you don't know the story, I encourage you to read it. But anyway, he changed me radically in just a blink of an eye, and that's what being born again is all about. Well, anyway, even though my wife wasn't real impressed with me, and I don't blame her, because as I look back now, there was many things about me that were majorly unimpressive. But nevertheless, I loved her and I wanted her back. And so now that I'm a Christian, I started praying to that end. God, I want my wife back. I want my marriage restored. I want my children. I want to be a father to my children and all that sort of thing. So I was stationed in Idaho at the time of the divorce. She moved to St. Petersburg, Florida, and I requested a transfer to MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa so that I could be close to the children. And that happened. I got the transfer, and in the process of realizing what was happening, I was thinking, oh, God is going to put my marriage back together again, and I was excited. So I'm driving across the country, transferring from Idaho to Florida, and I had arranged with my wife to have my girls for the weekend. When I first arrived in Florida, we were going to go to Christian retreat in Bradenton, Florida. And so I was excited. I was anticipating. My heart was beating and all of that sort of stuff. And when I got to Tallahassee, I pulled off the interstate and went to a phone booth, and I called to let my wife know what time I'd be picking the girls up. Well, my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, picked up the phone, and she says, hello. I said, hi, Tammy, this is Dad. And she says, Dad, Mom married Paul. I wasn't ready for that. Not at all. It hit me like a bomb. And I didn't know what else to do, so I cried. Here I am, Air Force officer, in a phone booth in Tallahassee, Florida, crying. All of a sudden, there's another voice on the other end of the line. It said, hi, Barry, this is Paul. I'd met him before, I knew who he was. This is Paul. And I said, I love you, Paul. And I didn't. Barry didn't. But somehow or other, Jesus in me did. And I managed to give that response, I love you, Paul. Then everything in me was crying out, I hate your guts. How could you do this to me? See, that's my old mind at work. But Jesus intervened and said, no, you're going to love him. So I got back to the car, and as I was driving away, I had a tape recording in my tape deck in the car, and it was a tape I'd never heard. It was given to me by a friend on my way to Florida. And it was like it was queued up, like a singer would be singing at a performance, and the song would be queued up, and as soon as she's ready to sing, boom, you hit the button and the song starts. Well, that's what happened with this song. I had never heard the song before, but here's what it said. There have been times when giving and loving brought me pain, and I promised I would never let it happen again. But I found out that loving was well worth the risk, and that even in losing you win. I'm gonna live the way he wants me to live, and I'm gonna give until there's just no more to give. I'm gonna love heartache and loss. He forgave from an old rugged cross. I'm gonna live the way he wants me to live. And I'm gonna give until there's just no more to give. I'm gonna love till there's just no more love. I could never outlove the Lord. Well, you don't have... I can't explain to you what that song did for me, but it raised me up out of what could have been a bummer of an experience. I just got all my dreams were shattered in one phone call, one brief phone call. So, went to Florida, and then I ended up getting assigned. I was working for Strawberry Lake Christian Retreat. They asked me if I would come up to Strawberry Lake, to Minnesota, Detroit Lakes area, to administer the Strawberry Lake Christian Retreat camp. I did. I came up there, and while I was there, on August 6th of 1978, a guest came to the grounds whose husband had been killed in March 3rd of 1978, just 4 or 5 months prior. And she was left a widow with 5 children, ages 9 to 3. And she'd been invited to come to this camp, so she came, and anyway, it's a long story. It's a beautiful story. I would love to tell you the whole story because it is so exciting about what God can do in a person's life. Here's a Reader's Digest condensed version. I met her on August 6th. I proposed to her on August 10th. 5 days. And what happened was, I met her on Monday, and then on Friday night, we always had a bonfire for all the guests that come. And that night, I was sharing at the bonfire. I had a guitar, and I was sharing basically what I'm sharing with you now, pretty much. And then I sang a song, which was part of my testimony. And it's a song that I just got done playing for you. Well, when Sharon heard that song, she started crying, and she didn't know what she was crying about. But after the bonfire was over, I motioned to her. We had been spending time together throughout the week after I'd met her. And so I said, I want you to come down by the lake. And so we sat on the rocks at the beach, and I proposed to her there. And that was a wonderful moment, and that song was key to setting the whole tone for what I wanted to say to her. Then we got married 6 months later, 10 months later, in May 25th of 1979. And the best man at our wedding was Ike Enns, who had been her husband's best friend, had been the best man at their wedding. So he asked if I wanted him to be my best man, and I said yes, that would be fine. So after the wedding, we were in the reception area downstairs eating, and Ike came up to me and he says, "Hey, can I sing a song?" I didn't know Ike from a hole in the wall. We'd never talked, basically, at all, just met him, and that was it. I said, "Yeah, you want to sing a song?" So he says, yeah, he sang a song. There have been times when giving and loving brought pain, and he sang that same song. And he didn't have any idea what that song meant to me. I could never outlove my Lord. No, I could never outlove my Lord. That's it. that's a little portion of my own personal testimony. If you're a Christian, I hope you have a testimony. I hope you have things that you can say about what God has done in your life, things that would impact other people. I hope if you have things that you could say about your life that would impact other people, I hope that you're saying it. I hope that you're sharing your testimony. That's what God gave you for. Revelation 12:11 says, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, and we love not our lives to the death. So there you have it. That's my testimony, and I'm sticking with it. I hope it meant something to you. It sure means a lot to me. This is my bride. She passed away on June 14th of 2016. We had 37 years. It was wonderful, but she's gone now. So all I can do is have a picture of her hanging around and sing about the times that we enjoyed together. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you, and I hope you'll tune in again next week, as well as watch this program again. It's on all week long, every 4 hours it recycles. God bless you.